to an urban issue. It's a common sight in all our cities. Optic fibre cables dangerously hanging from trees, electricity poles, buildings, and even laid on sides of our roads. While they keep us connected and it's impossible to think of life without them, isn't there a better way to lay them? Who's responsible for the cable mess in all our cities? And is there a way out? Pratibha Raman sets up our special urban focus this evening.
These are not just optic fibre cables that connect the world digitally, but are death traps for residents in Bengaluru and several other cities. Random and haphazard laying of cables overhead have caused several accidents. In fact, in August, a 23-year-old suffered injuries after an electric pole collapsed on him as these cables hanging from it got entangled with a passing truck. A similar accident in 2019 triggered a Bengaluru resident to file an FIR.
I still remember we had an accident where elderly was hurt due to electrocution. More than 90% of the OFCs that are getting laid in Bengaluru are illegal. The big OFC players like sublet laying of OFCs to subcontractors, and they usually get permission for only a few roads but go ahead and start laying everywhere.
Whitefield Rising, another citizen group, has been fighting against these players for a decade.
They are supposed to restore it, they are supposed to have signage, and they are not supposed to hang it on any public infrastructure like electric poles and so on. But nobody is enforcing the contracts. The CEOs of these companies are squarely responsible.
After the 2019 FIR, there was an effort to lay cables in a more organized manner. But 4 years later, roads are still being dug up. There are cable ducts all along Old Airport Road and the Whitefield Main Road. And this road in Ramagundanahalli was dug up as recently as a few days ago. All this has led to fatal accidents in Bengaluru, 2 of them in the last year alone. The telecom players claim they are following regulations.
The TSPs have regulated the cables as per the ROW rules. All other people there are not guided by such rules and regulations, therefore their cables are strewn all over the place. Now, accidents have occurred, but they have not occurred because of TSP cable or fibre. It has occurred because of unregulated cable which is going around in the city.
The Bengaluru Municipal Commissioner has promised to hold meetings and find a solution to this. But it has been 2 decades since the OFC cable menace, and the problem still seems to be dangling in mid-air. With camera person Govind, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Problem literally dangling in midair, as Pratibha Raman points out. Joining me this evening to understand who's responsible and how we can sort this mess out, Anjali Saini of Whitefield Rising, the citizens group in Bengaluru which has flagged this issue repeatedly and campaigned on it. And also with us this evening, Nagesh S. Kalburgi, Vice President of the Karnataka Cable Operators Association. Before I go to Anjali, Mr. Nagesh, first tell us who is responsible for this? Why are these cables just hanging over our cities everywhere and it's not restricted to Bengaluru alone?
See, the main problem lies with the major telecom players, not cable operators. Cable operators usually they use a small area. When it's not that big area, we go in artillery roads. Usually cable operators in the sub-artillery roads or the inner roads. The main road wires which are dangling now, the major cause is actually telecom companies and some of the major internet players. It's not about cable operators. Cable operators usually they keep their wire intact. And majorly...
Why do they do it, sir, quickly?
Sorry?
Why do they leave it that way? Why is it laid that way? Why is it laid haphazardly? Is it because of sudden spurt?
Usually when the wiring is done, if any other work is done like from Bescom or any other companies like BBMP or anybody, they usually cut the wires and they leave it on the roads. And suddenly there is a drive every now and then from BBMP that we have illegal fibers, we have to cut it down. And by doing that, what they do is actually they don't cut the major company wires, they cut the cable operators wires also. So that is the major concern. See, they can always inform the cable operator. Cable operator is always there to assist them. They can recognize which their wires are. Because anyways, cable operator means we have to go through cable only. It's a more or less like a right of way for us. We have to go through cables only.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm not accusing the cable operators alone. I understand that it could be the big telecom players as well. Anjali, if you can just shed light, your group has campaigned repeatedly on this. Where do you think the fault lies? Where is the problem?
So, Veera, I think the problem is twofold. One is, as Mr. Nagesh is saying, the telecom operators, which is, Airtel, ACT, Tata's, Reliance Jio. I think they're just bribing their way through this whole problem. Because what they do is, I've seen their contracts. We have been studying their contracts for the last 10 years. We have been reporting it to BBMP, but they are not following the contracts. And what they do to protect themselves, they subcontract the actual digging to some small time guy who is, a very small time operator who probably has no funds. And then they hide behind the coattails of these tiny operators, while the big guys, the Mr. Sunil Mittals and the Mr. Sharmas and the Mr. Lakshmi Narayan or TCL and Mr. Ambani are all getting away with it because they are not paying to lay the cables in the ducts. Now we are in the 21st century. We are trying to be digital India. Our Honorable Prime Minister is pushing for this. The whole country is pushing for this. And I feel like the telecom companies and the Cellular Operators Association of India is responsible. And on the other side, it's the government that is not enforcing the contracts, that is not doing what they are supposed to be doing and are not.
You mean the local government?
The local government, yes. Government of Karnataka, but they are calling these people. They are not responding. If they're not responding, why they're not filing FIRs? Why aren't they, booking these repeat offenders? And I can give you some dates. And I mean, it's like...
Okay, I want to understand a little further. Anjali. You've pointed out the problem, but you see, without connectivity, we can't live. Now, what's the solution for this? Mr. Nagesh, just briefly, and I'm not blaming A or B or C. I'm asking what can be the solution for this? What needs to be done on an urgent basis to solve it? First you and then Anjali.
There can always be a regulation on this. The government can have a guidance taking your cable operators into confidence or creating an idea for that. We are always ready to pay whatever they are asking. Within reach of the cable operators, as ma'am clearly says, it's a tiny operators. So whatever within our reach, we are definitely ready to even pay that money also. They have to give us the right of way. As you rightly said, sir, the cable is the mean where we can reach the houses. So there has to be solution from BBMP or whichever the local municipal government, municipal corporations, they have to come up with a solution to give a right of way for us, how to go about it. And we are always there to be with them. We are ready to work with them. And time and again, we have approached the subsequent, any any commissioner who comes in freshly, the first order is go and cut the cables, illegal cables. They never know which are illegal. And we are here ready to guide them or be with them to recognize the legal cables or find the solution for this. We are ready for that, sir.
So you're saying that, you need the right of way. Anjali, is there a solution that one can propose to civic authorities? Obviously, at Whitefield Rising, you have been very constructive in terms of finding solutions as well. Is there a concrete solution that one can find out, given that, and the reason why I'm asking this is, without these cables, we can't, one can't survive in today's world without internet or whatever these cables bring into our homes. So how are we going to ensure that they're laid and that connectivity is not disrupted, not even for a little while, but yet they're not hanging over all those places like haphazardly?
Veera, the solution is very simple. It's what's done all over the world. It's done in other cities in India. You have a duct. It's under the footpath and you run everybody's cables through that. Have you seen cables running through electricity poles in any other country or in any other city? Leave alone Bengaluru, which is trying to be the silicon capital. I think it's shameful that you're even asking us common citizens the solution. What is the government doing with its 9,000 crore budget, BBMP? They know the solution. Deputy Chief Minister wants to build a tunnel road. First, let him build a duct. Let's start with a duct. I can tell you, if they set their mind to it, in 90 days, they can have ducts laid under every single footpath in Bangalore. And everybody runs their cables through the ducts. And OFC operators have been called for meetings multiple times. We have been present in those meetings, 13, 14 of the operators. And in every meeting, they say, yes, we are giving a proposal to the government. We will create this duct, and then they can rent the duct to the smaller operators, as he's saying. So there is a income stream for them, but the cost has to be incurred. The government has to come out with the policy. This was given by even back in 2018, when the mayor of Bangalore called for a study after several accidents took place, and they found that 55,000 kilometers of cable, 90% of them were illegal. So one is, the solution is you have to have underground ducts. Number two is, when you have a contract with an operator like Reliance Jio, who has got deep pockets, why are they not enforcing the contract? Why is the government not got the courage to legally enforce its own contract? So there is a complete dereliction of duty. There is a complete no accountability. And the Cellular Operators Association of India was called even for a meeting in 2019 by the Additional Chief Secretary. They put a no show.
Right.
And I'll tell you, they are a no show.
Okay.
They are shameful. They do not take responsibility for their own actions. And they are killing people in Bangalore.
We don't have somebody from the COAI here to defend.
Again,
I'm sorry,
no show.
Anjali, but we're
That
also
is it.
running
They are
out
always
of
a
time.
no-show.
But no, they've spoken on the story, and they have a different point of view on it. But important points that you raised there, I think it's time that a solution is worked out on this. But thank you too for joining us and sharing with us those thoughts.